Much for joining us. Want to get into this big news that Johnson tells Republicans that Trump wants one big policy bill as the party charts course on his agenda. Now that Johnson is the speaker, we have the details over what this big bill is going to be about. Trump wants to make things happen as fast as possible, and now that things are moving into place, I'm telling you, there is huge reform coming, and Trump wants one big major change that's going to rock the nation. It's going to fulfill his agenda and make sure that Americans are taken care of. So with Trump dropping this huge big news, one sweeping bill, this is what everything that he said on the campaign trail that he wants. He wants the reform on the tax cuts to extend the tax cuts. He wants no taxes on Social Security, extend the debt ceiling, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, lowering the corporate tax rate, cutting off all federal aid to countries that don't accept back their migrants, funding for the border wall. He wants a whole lot. There's a whole lot more, guys. I got a huge list for you of what he wants in this first major change as his presidency takes place. And this huge sweeping reform is all going to be in a huge reconciliation bill. So the next thing is also, a lot of people are getting upset because President Joe Biden has decided to give two of the most patriotic people in America the Presidential Medal, George Soros and Hillary Clinton. And now Trump has laid out his plan, and there's others that are joining him saying that they want to rescind not only both of their medals that are being given today, but also Biden's works with other people that got presidential medals like Liz Cheney. We have Pam Bondi, who's going to be our new attorney general, who has come out and explicitly said that now they are finding that there's a lot of people and a lot of people on visas and in colleges that are here only for college that are supporting Hamas, the terrorist group. And she says that she wants those people investigated. She's going to be working with Kash Patel, who's going to be the new FBI director, to make sure they are investigated for potential threats to the U.S. because they say they are Hamas. And Hamas is a terrorist group, guys. So she's already getting to work on that. And also, backed by popular demand, guys, we have to show you our favorite Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, how somehow she messed up saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And a lot of people are just going crazy over this because it is the one thing that starting from elementary school that we all learned, yet she being the vice president forgot the words. We got a ton of breaking news to get into today, guys. So exciting. I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can take care of you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And thank you so much to our members of the channel. Y'all are the best. If you want to join, the link is in the description to join. And remember, we take those members' fees and the super chats and we give them to charity once a month live on this channel. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation already. First timer, Virginia Friday. Thank you so much for your support. Y'all show Virginia some love in the chat. But I want to get into this breaking news, guys. This is going to be a huge sweeping bill that Trump wants, one big policy bill that is going to change America for the future. Let's jump right into it. Check this out. Oh, 1 second, guys. Let me get the speakers fixed up.
The Republicans actually pulled it off. I mean, it seems like every vote is going to be high drama because the margin's so tight. What's your analysis of what's happening and what's the future going to portend for House Republicans?
Well, first of all, this is a great victory for Mike Johnson, just as a decent, hardworking, intelligent human being. He did something, Jason, you know me well. I could not have been the kind of speaker he is. I don't have the patience. I don't have that ability. It's really very extraordinary. Second, it is the first great victory of the presidency in legislative terms. Without Donald Trump, we'd probably still be voting tonight because I don't think anybody else could have gotten the last 5 or 6 or 7 votes. But Trump's personality, his program, his popularity, All of them were brought to bear. And this is really a joint victory of Speaker Johnson and President Trump. I actually think it's a good thing. I think for the first time, the Trump team realizes they're going to have to work to get every single victory in this Congress. And that's a good thing to learn early. They can do it. I think they can pass a huge tax cut and deregulation bill as part of reconciliation. I think they can get a lot of other things done, but it is going to require getting the American people aroused so that the country forces Washington to change, because you can't get Washington to change on its own.
Yes.
Well, you bring up several points there, right? Donald Trump does have a mandate. He is the most popular person in this country. He earned it, but he has a plan. And to implement that plan, he needs the House Republicans to, realize that being a House Republican is a team sport. It's not a place where everybody gets to go off and act like they're individuals. So, look, you've been in that seat. You've been the speaker. How do you corral those people day in and day out? And by the way, Speaker Johnson, he's just a good, decent human being. I mean, you can disagree with him, but he is a good, decent person. And he did pull it off, and he did have the support of Donald Trump. But that's what it's about, right? Coming together so that the two of them can get things done. But how do you corral them on a day-by-day basis to get over the hurdle? Because pretty soon the vote's going to be 217 to 215. The margins are going to be so tight.
Well, I think there's a real lesson to be learned from Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and frankly, what we did with the contract. Lincoln said, with popular sentiment, anything is possible. Without popular sentiment, nothing is possible. Reagan, in his farewell address, said, people say I won great legislative victories, but that's not true. Every victory I won was because of you, the American people. Margaret Thatcher said, when you win the argument, then you win the vote. The real lesson for me out of this is that President Trump is going to have to go to the country again and again. He's going to have to pick fights where he has huge advantages. We have a program called the America's New Majority Project, where we've been tracking, and people can see it at americasnewmajorityproject.com, where we've been tracking 80%, 70% issues. And if you read Mike Johnson's speech or watch it, his speech today was perfect in terms of appealing to 70 or 80, and in some cases, 90% of the American people.
Yes.
And the reason you want to do that is liberals can govern from Washington out. Conservatives have to govern from the grassroots in. It's profoundly different. I think that Trump can do it. I think Johnson can help him. I think John Thune of the Senate can help him. And I think it could actually end up being an astonishingly good 2 years.
Mr. Speaker, what do you do with reconciliation? Because it's arcane, it's difficult for everybody to understand how it works and the nuances of it, but you can't put everything into it. You can really have to pick something and run with that. What should Donald Trump pick first? Mike Johnson, what should they go? What should the Speaker do? How do you deal with that? The House Republicans are gathering tomorrow to have this very discussion. What's your advice to them?
Well, Jason, as you may remember, when I was Speaker, we passed 2 continuing resolutions in 1 year, 1997. One of them, by the way, was the balanced budget. The only 4 consecutive balanced budgets in the last century came out of the Congress while I was Speaker. So we can do 2. I personally believe they ought to do 1 early with the border, immigration, all the things that are easy and obvious, get them done. At the same time, in parallel, the Senate Finance Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee, working with the administration, should develop a bill on taxes and deregulation. And deregulation is at least as important as taxes in economic growth. The goal should be get the House to pass it and the Senate to pass it by May 30th, go to conference in June, and have it signed on July 4th. They should not let it go a day after July 4th, because the real key to the 2026 election is whether or not we have an economic boom. If the tax cuts are in, if the deregulation is in, if the economy is booming, if life is more affordable, you're actually going to see, like Roosevelt did in 1934, an increase in the Republicans in the House. If, on the other hand, we mess around and fail to pass it early, Reagan did not get his tax cuts involved until 83. He lost 26 seats in the House in 82. Trump didn't get his tax cuts through until December.
Yep.
He lost 40 seats in 18. So there's a real lesson here. Get it done by July 4th.
Yep.
Well-
Make it big, make it bold, get the economy to grow, and everything will work.
Guys, and that's the big thing. Everybody, and even Trump said, we have to move fast. This is why they push so hard to get Mike Johnson in, because he knows that the time that it takes to get these bills passed, get them written up, get them pushed through, takes time. And in order to fix things and for us not to lose in 2 years when it comes to the midterms, we have to get things done fast. Thank you so much, Bonnie Morris, for the super chat. Let's go. Said, how's it going? And thank you so much, Brian McGavick. Thank you, Joel. God bless you and yours. God bless you too, Brian. Y'all are so kind. Y'all are so amazing. Y'all show Brian and Bonnie some love in the chat, guys. Y'all are the best. So I want to show you this too, guys. We're going to get into the deep of where the bill is at, what Trump wants, his agenda. But today, this is just breaking news everywhere. Hillary Clinton, George Soros, 17 others to be honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the White House ceremony. And people are getting livid about this. For one, because of what Hillary Clinton has done. I literally showed you, and I'm probably going to show you in just a moment again, that this lady wants to side with China to go up against Trump. That's how desperate they are. That's how conniving they are. She said, well, we know the Russians back the Republicans, so why don't we side with China? And then everybody knows that George Soros funds very left, very progressive people that are against American values. And now, I'm telling you, Steve Bannon has come out, one of persons closest to Trump, and he says, gives the exact plan of what needs to happen. Check this out.
My recommendation to President Trump is that you notify today that you're going to sign an executive order on Monday. One of the very first actions is to rescind the Presidential Medal of Freedom that's being given to George Soros today. Rescind it. They're going to say, well, you can't rescind it. So, okay, well, fine. Try me. And send a team to track down Soros and take the medal back. It is a disgrace that a demonic individual like that has gone out of his way to try to destroy this country, would actually be given to mock this constitutional republic, which he hates and has dedicated his life to destroying. That we would be presenting him, awarding him the highest civilian honor that you could give. President Trump today ought to come out and say, hey, I'm putting out an executive order right after I take my hand off the King James. With everything else we got to do, all stuff, either number one is going to be rescinding Soros's as a symbol. Mm-hmm. As a symbol, rescind it. And they can say, well, you can't rescind it. But you know what? He's going to be president of the United States. There's a lot he can do that you can't. And then send a team up to track Soros down and take the medal, rip it right off his neck.
Dang.
And then melt it down and maybe cut up in pieces and send it to the families of the 13 that died at the Abbey Gate. The brave heroes, the young men and women from places like Laredo, Texas. Do that. Rip it off his frickin' neck. You want to play Smash Mouth? Let's play Smash Mouth. You want to get cute, Biden? We can get cute. The part of the investigations of what they did in this country to steal the 2020 election, the Fed's direction on the 6th, and then the whole criminal conspiracy to withhold how Biden really was as a chief executive and as commander-in-chief. All of it must be deeply investigated.
Yep.
Deeply investigated. We must be relentless in that. We must not. And they're going. Everybody go. Oh, can we just get along? Can we just? No, we cannot do it. We owe it to this republic. This is not about Trump. not about me, not about Navarro. It's not about Tom Barrack, people who went to prison. It's not about that. This is about this republic. And whether we're going to sit there and have somebody like George Soros in the White House, it's a disgrace to every patriot grave from the revolution all the way down to modern times, to this time. And you can either accept it and go along. If you accept it and go along with it, then you're approving it. If you accept it and go along with it, you're approving it. Soros is a demon and a devil. His sole focus is to destroy this constitutional republic. Sign an executive order, rescind it, and then, I don't know, pick it. Maybe the new recast FBI. Hey, how about that? Ask Cash that during his confirmation hearing. Send government officials up to track down Soros, well known where he hangs out. Tell him we want it, we got it. If you don't get it, search the room, or if he's got it around his neck, rip it off his neck. That will send the message you have to send.
I 100% agree.
It's not going to stop until you force it to stop. It's not going to stop until you force it to stop. My recommendation to
if there's anything that I like about Steve Bannon is he is 100%, guys, a true believer, a true patriot. So not only is George Soros getting the freedom, the medal, what is it, the freedom medal, but also Hillary Clinton. Listen, I showed you this a couple days ago or either yesterday. I want to show you it again. How in the world could this person receive that type of prestigious medal in America when you say something like this against the president?
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. You know,
do you see that, guys? Like, the lawfare that's come up against Trump, you cannot make this stuff up. I want to read you this. Trump posted this. There's never been a president who was so evilly and illegally treated as I. Corrupt Democrat judges and prosecutors have gone against a political opponent of President me at levels of injustice never seen before. Corrupt judges or judges so blinded by their hatred of me and my political ideology to make America great again are making a mockery of the United States judicial system, and the world is watching in disgust. Deranged Jack Smith, the evil and sinister prosecutor appointed by crooked Joe Biden to take me down, was found to be illegally appointed by a corrupt DOJ and FBI. All of his many charges against me were dropped or dismissed. His legal right in my home, Mar-a-Lago, will go down as one of the dirtiest tricks ever perpetrated by one candidate, a dumb as a rock, sleepy Joe Biden, on another. With all of this said, I still have confidence that the appellate courts will bring justice to America because, again, too, Trump is about to be sentenced, and a lot of people are saying nothing's going to happen, that it's going to be, Trump can join virtually, but it still doesn't matter. They still went after him, and they still are trying to make a statement and get sound bites and get images they shouldn't even be allowed to do. Listen to this.
Like Trump, as New York Judge Juan Merchan sets a sentencing date in that trial for January 10th. That's, of course, just days before Trump's inauguration. The president-elect slamming that judge, who donated to Joe Biden, by the way, along with Democrats. This was in an interview with Fox Digital. Trump said, quote, "This is a political witch hunt by Biden and the DOJ. They want to see if they can get a pound of flesh because every case has failed." Fox News contributor and George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley joins us this morning. Good to see you, Professor. You and I talked about this case on the radio yesterday. I understand Trump's upset about it. I think he's broadly angry that this case was brought in the first place. But in terms of this specific outcome from the judge and this sentencing that's coming, you don't necessarily think this is totally bad news from Trump's perspective. Why?
Well, first of all, it's been a remarkable change of events. This was portrayed as the virtual trial of the century, and we're now looking at a unconditional discharge without any jail or probation. It's like marking down a hurricane down to passing flurries. I mean, it's quite a change. But more importantly, by sentencing Trump, the president-elect will finally have the ability to appeal the case. Mm-hmm. This case is riddled, in my view, with reversible error. The president's right. This was lawfare. It's been denounced not just by CNN's senior legal analyst. It was denounced recently by a Democratic senator who said it was total BS. Many people in the public view it that way. So this will be the final rallying call of lawfare. But he will not have that orange jumpsuit moment that many people had wanted. He will walk out of that courtroom, either physically or virtually, and he will walk into the White House just 10 days later.
So, Professor, legal analysts seem confident that the judge has indicated here that there's not going to be any punishment attached to this sentence when this proceeding happens days from now. Why are people feeling that way? What is that clue or that indicator from the judge?
Well, I did the coverage of the trial, and after the verdict, I said that this was the most likely result, because not just because of the nature of this case, but most defendants in this position as first offenders would get this type of unconditional discharge. But after the president was reelected, it made that all the more likely. If the judge does not impose limits on his freedom or some type of probationary conditions, it basically diffuses the constitutional issues. Part of the problem here, though, is the timing. Yep. Why this judge waited so long. There's a suggestion in the order that if the president appeals and the sentencing is delayed, that Merchan may just leave this in abeyance to suspend it for 4 years. That would be a perfectly horrific result. It would allow this trial judge in New York to hold a leash on the American president for 4 years. It would allow the media to continually portray him as a convicted person who's awaiting sentencing. But there is that chance that if Trump appeals and it's delayed too much, Merchan may carry out that implied threat.
Yeah, so the lack of that occurring, right, and some finality coming to this on January 10th could then allow Trump to go, get sworn in, go about his business as president of the United States, and then his team elsewhere can fight on that appeals front that you were talking about. I know you've been very vocal that you think that there's ample grounds for appeal on reversible error, so we'll be following all of that in the days to come. Jonathan Turley, thank you.
Guys, let me tell you this. The amount of lawfare that has come up against Trump, it was all to do what? It was a distraction. One of the biggest things, too, that is a distraction that nobody saw coming. Trump is really focused on this. He told Johnson, tells Republicans that Trump wants one big policy bill. And with all this lawfare, trying to put him in jail, trying to do the sentencing, the default on the debt, it's all a distraction. Thank you so much, D. Adams. Say, keep up the good work. God bless you. God bless you too. Y'all show D. Adams some love in the chat, everybody. Y'all are so wonderful. Thank you so much for your kindness. I wanted to show you this because now, again, it's all about the sequence of events. Trump is trying to get into office. They're trying to bring in this thing saying, oh, we're going to dismiss it unconditionally, but then we don't know if it's truly going to be gone. They might try to bring it up after. But now there's people on the other side that I'm glad that they're doing this. They're saying, well, look, everybody stopped talking about the biggest cover-up ever, and that is the cover-up of Joe Biden. And we need to address that. Check this out.
This is, and I don't really, you know what? I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
The reality is nothing like the dystopian picture that the Republicans are trying to paint of this senile, doddering president, and he's as sharp as a tack.
Anybody, any aide who engages with him or reporters, we can see this. The gears of his mind are working.
And Biden is actually in good shape.
Okay, that was really incompetent analysis. It was totally off the wall and wrong. The media claiming Biden is sharp as a tack. Special counsel Robert Hur said he's too senile to stand trial over taking U.S. secrets. It calls into question who's calling the shots in the White House. So we got news. Joe Biden wants to undermine Trump with a new executive order to permanently ban new lease sales for oil and gas drilling in certain regions of the outer continental shelf. And also this, stay on this for just a second. Axios is reporting that Joe Biden and his team were talking about bombing Iran's nuclear facilities. That would have handed Trump a major problem. Joining us now, they were thinking of bombing it just recently. Joining us now, Kingsview Asset Management CIO, Fox News contributor Scott Martin. Scott, you know, when we see the media roll on this with this idea that Biden is all there, when even his aides are leaking that he's not, and now they're trying to undermine, Biden's trying to undermine Trump. Trump wants to unleash U.S. oil and gas to lower inflation, plus stop Russia and Iran's cash flow machine driving Russia's war in Ukraine and Iran's terrorism in the Mideast. But they think Biden is so compos mentis that he's okay with all of these moves and what he's doing. He's undermining Trump here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the moves he's made, EMAC, with the Middle East and Russia so far, I think we could agree those were pretty bad. So I don't know where some of those commentators were getting their analysis. But look, I mean, you're putting Europe at risk and a lot of the world at risk, too, with what we've done with Iran. As far as the Green New Deal goes, maybe that was the deal, EMAC. Maybe the Green New Deal was the cash bill that Iran was going to have by exporting all the oil that we didn't export. So, look, going forward, Trump's solutions are going to be much better than what we've had and something that the world can actually be excited about than being held hostage by these terrorist organizations.
Yeah, you know, the other thing, too, is China is saying Biden is totally wrong with his climate agenda push. China is sticking with hybrid cars, so moving away from electric cars and doing hybrid gas cars. So Biden was totally wrong with trying to get rid of gas cars and only going electric. It's so off the wall. This Biden White House is truly one of the worst we've ever seen. They also, according to the Free Beacon, let Iran rake in at least $200 billion. The Biden White House consciously ignored U.S. intelligence showing Iran was expanding its oil and fuel smuggling operation dramatically under Biden. Iran funds Hezbollah. Hamas has been attacking Israel almost daily. Iran attacks its own people. Major humanitarian violations, Amnesty International, UN watchdogs say. But Obama and Biden are giving them, Iran, more money. That undercuts their claim of being humanitarian.
Very much so, and it puts the world at risk, EMAC. And also, look at some of those numbers, too, you mentioned. I mean, we wondered over the course of the last few months and years where Iran was getting all that money. I think we figured it out. So if you look at going forward and look at what Trump is going to impose here, at least for the United States oil production and certainly around the world, I think you got to look at a greener pasture here going forward, at least for somebody to stand up to those in the Middle East.
Scott, will you think Trump can clean all of this up?
I think it's going to be a long haul, EMAC. I think there's going to be some fits and starts, but at least the start is going to be done versus the give up that we've had so far.
All right, Scott Martin, you're terrific.
Guys, y'all see this? I mean, this is 100% a cover up. When even we look at this, I want you to listen to what Pam Bondi says when it comes to, she's going to be our new defense attorney general, AG for the United States. Because again, too, they let all these people into the country unvetted. There's people here that literally chant death to America, and they're here on work visas, and yet we don't do anything about it. Listen to this.
These students in universities in our country, whether they're here as Americans or if they're here on student visas, and they're out there saying, I support Hamas. You and I have seen that on all of these television shows. Frankly, they need to be taken out of our country, or the FBI needs to be interviewing them right away when they're saying, I support Hamas, I am Hamas. That's not saying I support all these poor Palestinians who are trapped in Gaza. That's not what they're saying. So I think their student visas need to be revoked. I think we need to reinstate President Trump's travel ban immediately. There's a lot of things that can be done to stop this. But yeah, the anti-Semitism that is rampant throughout this country now. And it's truly, truly heartbreaking to see what's happening to all of our Jewish friends in this country. By really just, I think, a lot of ignorant kids and students and people who don't understand that Hamas equals terrorism, even worse, at its worst.
Guys, y'all hear that? This is going to be our new AG, guys. And again, too, not afraid to say what needs to be said when it comes to the protection and safety of America. Because again, too, there's so much happening. A lot of it's, I trust that 100% we're going to be taken care of with Holman. But there's still such a huge amount that's coming in unvetted that Holman is still trying to say, hey guys, somebody do something about this, because it's going to be harder and harder for us the more people come in. Check this out.
Believes that at this point. We know they're not properly screening migrants. Migrants with long criminal rap sheets constantly get through. They kill American citizens like Laken Riley and Rachel Morin. And a third of illegals are no-shows for their deportation hearings. What's stopping a terrorist from sneaking in? Certainly it's not Mayorkas. Illegal migrants know this insanity ends on January 20th. So they're scrambling to hire lawyers before Trump's sworn in. One New York group that trains lawyers to help migrants says their hotline has received double the number of calls compared to last January. Trump's promising a mass deportation operation, and if sanctuary cities get in the way of the law, they're going to face consequences. Here's what one concerned citizen told the Board of Supervisors in San Diego.
I think 2025 is going to be pretty exciting, because when you guys say F you to the federal government, they're going to say F you too. You're going to have a sore awakening when the federal government comes after you for aiding and abetting, and they're going to be like, you get a jail cell, 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 you get a jail cell. Tom Homan is going to come after you.
Incoming border czar Tom Homan is here now. Tom, I can't help but laugh when I hear that there's all these lawyers coming in. Are these well-trained lawyers going to stop you from protecting the American people?
No, they're not. We're going to do this job. The story you just covered, look, we got over 2 million known gotaways. We know 2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Biggest national security vulnerability I've seen in my career, and even Christopher Wray, the director of FBI, agrees with me. But look, President Trump's been clear. We're going to secure that border, and we're going to finish the job of securing them. We're going to have the most secure border in the history of this nation. Then we're going to run this deportation operation in these sanctuary cities that they can help or get out of the way, because we're coming and we're going to do it. They're not going to stop it. And we're going to hopefully find many of the 340,000 missing children that were trafficked in this country, released to unvetted sponsors, that are now living a life of hell every day in sex trafficking or forced labor. We're going to rescue those children, too. No one's going to stop us.
Incoming National Security Advisor Michael Walls said something very interesting yesterday. Listen to what he said.
We've got to take a hard look at our defenses. First and foremost, close our border, where we've had over 300 people on the terrorist watch list traverse our border in the last years, number one. Number two, I'll remind everyone, just in the last year, we had 8 ISIS operatives rolled up, surveilling sites to hit in 3 different cities.
Wow.
A number of them from that cell are still unaccounted for, based out of Tajikistan.
Are there Tajikistan ISIS-linked individuals running around the country unaccounted for?
Absolutely. And let's remember those 8 Tajikistans. When Secretary Mayorkas, they were released, they were vetted too. What happened? Look, here's what people need to know. When Secretary Mayorkas says people are vetted, they're vetted through NCIC, our criminal database. Most countries don't have an NCIC. And if they do, they'll share the information with us. And as far as terrorist vetting, most terrorists in this world aren't in any screening database. Unless they're arrested or involved in a Title III undercover wiretap and call on a chatter, unless they're encountered on a battlefield by DOD and there's a retina scan done or some sort of biometric information entered in the database, we don't know who most terrorists are in this world. So they can vet all day long. The answer is stop, catch, and release. Detain these people. Let officers go through their pocket trash. Let them do deep dive investigation, find out exactly who these people are. And that's what we want. We want to stop, catch, and release. That's what President Trump's going to do. We're going to put a stop to this madness.
Tom, I only have a few moments here, but one of the challenges laid up by the Wall Street Journal is that Eisenhower, who had mass deportation, had mostly migrants that were from Mexico. So it was much easier to send a group back. Whereas today, you have immigrants from Ukraine, from Tajikistan, from China. Are you going to be able to organize these flights out and get these countries to receive these individuals back?
Yes, because President Trump is the strongest president I ever worked for. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. No one's better at border security than President Trump. Well, his success is unprecedented. He's a strong president. When I was ICE director, El Salvador went take back MS-13 criminals. It took President Trump 24 hours until we were removing people to El Salvador. Mexico didn't want to do the Remain in Mexico program. It took President Trump 48 hours to get Remain in Mexico in place. President Trump's a strong president. He puts America first. If other countries want to help us, he can demand to help us. If it's a threat of tariffs or whatever. President Trump is America first. He's the strongest president I've seen in this country. You're going to see the difference starting January 20th.
Guys, I love it. What a strong, again, backbone. When I look at the leaders, if we're supposed to be the #1 superpower in the world, when our highest leadership should embody that. Thank you so much, Mary Busby, for the super chat. Let's go. Said thank you for True Life News. Let's go. Y'all show Mary some love in the chat, guys. Thank y'all so much for your support. I'm here to serve y'all. So I wanted to show you this too as well. So again, things keep popping out. Things keep coming out after the fact, after all these hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent. The American people have no transparency. We have no idea what's actually going on until something leaks out. Well, check out this. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken admits that the United States began arming Ukraine long before the start of the war with Russia. A lot of people say, oh, we like to stay out of wars, no proxy wars. They had it planned all along. If Russia knew that the United States was arming Ukraine, then they knew something was about to happen. Listen to this.
So first, if you look at the trajectory of the conflict, because we saw it coming, we were able to make sure that not only were we prepared and allies and partners were prepared, but that the Ukraine was prepared. We made sure that well before the Russian aggression happened, starting in September, the Russian aggression happened in February, starting in September and then again in December, we quietly got a lot of weapons to Ukraine to make sure that they had in hand what they needed to defend themselves. Things like Stingers, javelins that they could use that were instrumental in preventing Russia from taking Kyiv, from rolling over the country, erasing it from the map, and indeed pushing the Russians back. So first, if you look...
So again, too, guys, it's not by coincidence. It's not by chance. That's why we need the major reform. One of the persons that's also has worked with Trump is now looking at the agenda. What's going to happen next is, of course, she's one of my favorites, Kellyanne Conway. Virginia Friday, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Let's go. Y'all show Virginia some love in the chat on this beautiful day, guys. Let's go. Check this out.
A little bit about all this stuff. I'm sure you watched the high noon drama on the House. You know, from your lights as a brilliant political strategist, what did you read into this battle which Mike Johnson finally won?
I love it. He told me earlier this week when I was guest hosting for our friend Sean Hannity that he had the votes, and he knows he can only suffer 1 or 2 defections. But I love how positive, forward-looking, substantive, and granular the speaker's remarks were after that vote, Larry. It reminds me of Donald Trump out on the campaign trail. People aren't just having a mandate for lower inflation, lower interest rates, a stop to all this migration madness and border insecurity and these foreign wars. They actually want a government that is smaller, less invasive, intrusive, expensive, expansive, has a relationship with its citizenry that is not so punitive and confiscatory and overbearing. And you hear that from President Trump, obviously, and now from Speaker Johnson. Larry, I love the fact that the Speaker took the gavel and immediately talked about those 7 governing principles. He said it's conservatism, but he actually said it's the founding of America. No teleprompter, no notes, certainly no ridiculous binder.
Yes.
He just knows them off the top of his head. Human dignity, individual freedom, free market economy, sovereignty and security. This is what America has voted for. And I have to say, President Trump weighing in is so appropriate here because he basically is telling these holdouts, look, you may have genuine concerns. You're putting on the table that you want more work days, great, and you want more time to read and debate bills before you vote on them. Larry, we're the party in the movement that believes that because remember Nancy Pelosi during Obamacare said you have to pass the bill to then know what's in it. We don't want to do that. We want to give people the grace and space to read the legislation and debate it. But when President Trump called him, what did he say? He said it's disrespectful to the American people. They voted for immediate change. Donald Trump stood up in that campaign, and Mike Johnson winning today affirms it. They broke it, I'll fix it. And an adjunct to that, Larry Kudlow, is they ignored it, and I'm going to tackle it.
Yes, yes. You know, one of the issues here, it's a sub-issue, but it's a big issue. Mike Johnson, who I supported for this speakership, and I'm very glad it turned out good today, but, you know, he made a big mistake. With the first CR, he suspended the PAYGO spending cuts, okay? And that caused a rebellion amongst the Freedom Caucus and others. But unfortunately, a lot of Republican House members and a lot of Republican Senate members are all too happy to suspend PAYGO and not make the budget cuts.
Yes.
And I always talk about the Doge brothers, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and I hope that they weigh in heavily, and I hope Mr. Trump relies on it. But look, I want to get these tax cuts done as soon as possible. I want one reconciliation bill. But part of that, along with the border and deregulation and defense and so forth, part of that has to be spending restraint, savings that are unnecessary. The government is full and bloated. There's a lot of crap we don't need, alphabet agencies that do more harm than good. You know all about this. You worked in the White House with us. So my point is, they have got, you know, I don't want a uniparty where everyone just spends all the time. There has to be a real change here.
Yes.
Larry, as you know, the Republican Party at its moorings was the fiscally restrained party. We didn't like spending. We didn't like debt and deficits. And it's become a bipartisan problem in Washington. People spend money we don't have on things we don't need and didn't quite ask for. So if this gives everybody a cause for pause and says, let's get back to those moorings and let's treat the federal spending the way American households and small businesses have had to restrain their own spending. We all make tough choices. And I think America is broadcasting that as well. Look, the pandemic was very expensive. I know that during the Bush years, they felt that getting us out of the fiscal crisis was expensive and this, that, and the other. We don't need to spend all this money. I think DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, will both show us where there's duplication, replication, and nonsense, but also tell us we can do things the way the private sector does much more cheaply and much more efficiently. Larry, when we were in the White House together, remember there were some of our colleagues trying to improve the technology in this department or that agency, and they simply didn't have the hardware to sustain the software. People say the federal government is asking me to fax in information. Nobody has a fax machine anymore. So even getting us into the 20th century would be a good idea, and I think they can do it. That's going to be automatic cost savings. But look, Larry, whether it's crypto, AI, energy independence, drill baby drill, inflation, these reconciliation packages, Donald Trump can do so much with this Congress And apart from this, Congress, through executive order, and then just commanding his departments and agencies to look under the hood and say what changed in the last 4 years. Get rid of all those climate people, all those DEI programs, all this extra staff nonsense has been layered on that people probably suspect is there. They intuit it, but they don't know it. And I think, Larry, last point, let's let it all hang out. Let the DOJ people and all the departments and agencies tell us what they're doing, what's going on. Make us part of it. Make it transparent. Get Donald Trump out there tweeting and truthing about what's happening so that we feel like we're part of our government again.
You know, Kellyanne, last point, 30 seconds, all I got. The way Trump, I didn't know that Trump got on the phone with the two holdouts. I just learned that from our reporter, Aisha Hasney.
Yeah.
That is him, right? That is how he operates. He is roll-up sleeves, hands-on manager. He will call you if he doesn't like something or if he wants to get something done. That is going to be a welcome change. This guy is an executive, and he has an agenda, and he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to get it done. You know, we all worked together in the first term. We've seen it. This is going to be even bigger and more interesting, if you ask me. This was vintage Trump calling in right at the last minute to turn that thing around.
President Trump is an executive, as you say, a CEO, but he's also a negotiator and a collaborator. And people, they see that. Again, they intuit that. Larry, I think there's hopefulness that we can pick off a couple Democrats in the House, maybe even a John Fetterman in the Senate and some others who are saying, you know what, I didn't vote for the Tax and Jobs Jobs Act the first time, but it's benefited my district. It's helping small businesses in my state. What's all this anti-fracking, war on fossil fuel, pausing the LNG permit stuff? I'm going to take a look at that now. I'm hearing complaints as a Democrat from my constituents on immigration and border insecurity. I think I'm going to vote for some of this. I think we have a great moment for there to be bipartisan support for what is truly an America First agenda. And President Trump,
he'll negotiate with Democrats.
And listen, he called, you know what he did? He called those folks today, Larry, and he said, what do you need? In other words, what's the holdout? Instead of being punitive, as I know other presidents and their chief advisors have been, I remember that in different times, you know, we'll never campaign for you again. You'll never get any money from the committees unless you do this. President Trump saying, what do you need? Why are you holding out? Because this is what America said. That's the way to do this. We're off to a great start, Larry, and he's not even in there yet.
Happy New Year, Kellyanne.
Guys, I'll tell you this. There's things that Trump is working on that I love it because it's, as things transpire, we get the news and then it kind of makes sense, right? So this broke literally, guys, last night. Greenland, you know how Trump talked about getting Greenland, how he talked about purchasing it? Greenland PM, Prime Minister Mute Ejede, I don't know if I'm saying that right, signals he wants independence from Denmark as President-elect Trump expresses interest in buying the island territory. Guys, you cannot, like, this is insane. Did Trump know this? I don't know. Probably. I think he did. Because why would he make such a bold statement like that if he didn't know something? So if Greenland is separating themselves from Denmark so that they're their own country, Trump comes in ready to make the purchase, ready to make them a part of the United States. Guys, what a huge acquisition this would be. But also, too, it would give us a lot more land in a stage that if we needed to protect ourselves from some place other than the United States, that would be a great place to do it. On top of that, just like I said, guys, you got to watch this. This is insane. Check this out.
Justice for all.
Now, that is something only Kamala Harris could do. Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna joins me now. Congresswoman, you know, when we look back in time, we see Kevin McCarthy and the vote to make him speaker, and it went 15 ballots, 15. But something was different today. And I want to pull this up, what was different. This is new reporting from Real Clear Politics about President Trump's involvement. The message from the president-elect, according to a source with direct knowledge of that call, was we had the most historic election. You guys are stepping all over it by being ridiculous, speaking to the holdouts. I want all these swing states, but while Democrats are sticking together, you two guys are screwing it all up. It seems that we did not go to 15 rounds today because of the political capital of President Donald J. Trump. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he is known for the art of the deal. And I would like to just say that for those holdouts, they actually did get assurances, not just from President Trump, but also from Speaker Johnson, that we were going to do something in debt reconciliation and ensure that we are saving for Americans and future generations. So I don't think today would have gone the way it did unless it was for President Trump. So thank you for that. Being that I was one of the holdouts back in January, we were trying to change the institution. We did, and we saw today that we are unified GOP moving forward.
Well, that's good to hear that they got a policy deliverable, so maybe something that is worth it in the long run. But, you know, Congresswoman, as you look at this and you think about a narrow 217 to 215 majority, which is what it will be when you count for the two going into the Trump administration, what does this say about passing major legislation? Do you think there will be an issue?
You know, I think that there's going to be a lot of people that might try to become mini mansions, is what I like to call it. But at the end of the day, when we ran for re-election, we all ran on the America First agenda, really securing our borders, eliminating some of these crazy taxes, but then also to ensuring that the American people were put first and foremost and not being forgotten. And so I think that all of those messaging items are winnable, especially in a narrow majority. And I just hope that my colleagues decide to work together. Again, Kaylee, we have our first big test that's going to be on budget reconciliation. We're actually starting meetings tomorrow. I'm not even leaving Washington. We're staying through the weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver wins for America.
I like that. Many mansions. That's very clever. Congresswoman, thank you.
Guys, I'm telling you, the amount of change that's coming, I love it. Trump is 100% wants one big policy bill, which again, too, we've talked about in the beginning, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, huge pullback of spending that Biden has tried to do in the past six months, just giving billions and billions of dollars away to American people, to foreign countries, taking away from the American people. This is where we need reform. And again, too, they said Trump got on the phone and told them, guys, what are you doing? You're screwing everything up. We need to get this in place because Trump knows that time is of the essence. In his first term, he missed out on so much because they didn't do it fast enough. And now speed is key and speed is on his mind. And I am so supportive over it. I'm so glad that he is finally got a lot of amazing people around him. There's people that are working like crazy to get these bills up and ready. And this next week, we're going to get him certified through the Electoral College. Then we're going to get a lot of the cabinet people in place, all like Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, RFK, all the dream team are going to be coming into place, taking their positions, going through the hearings so that as soon as Trump takes office, bam, they're ready to go, hit the ground running, putting America first and getting us back on track. Want to say thank you to everybody that's watching, guys. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. Remember, we do Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, and then 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. And just want to say thank you so much for all your support. We could not do it without you. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join, and we are so grateful for your support. Want to give some shout-outs to Virginia Friday, Bonnie Morris, Brian McGavick, D. Adams, Mary Busby, Virginia Friday. Thank you so much for your support, guys. We couldn't do this without you. There's a lot that's about to take place in this next coming weeks. So much breaking news, so many things happening, changing America for the big. Because remember, well, this is what's going to happen. Trump is going to go in and he has to make the right changes that are essentially permanent. Because if we lose the House in 2 years or lose the Senate in 2 years, guess what the Democrats are going to try to do? They're going to try to reverse everything. And we don't want that. We need to get on a track of common sense where we put things in place where Americans are taken care of, seniors are taken care of, our tax dollars, we have transparency, just like Kellyanne Conway said. How is it that we have no idea what happens and we're not a part of the decision making when it comes to all the money that's being spent, the laws that are being passed, but now we're actually getting a voice with Trump and his dream team and Doge, and that's how it's supposed to be. This is a country of we the people, and we got to make sure that it stays that way, and we limit the government and don't let the dang Democrats continue to make government so big that it tries to control all of our lives. Love y'all so much. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.